Squiddies and gentle octos, the day has finally and unexpectedly come that I can tell you with my chest that they have put some excellent competitive maps into Splatoon 3 that did not come from a previous Splatoon game. I'll admit, early on, I was really, really skeptical of Crableg. I was pretty positive and optimistic about Shipshape, although again, my expectations were low considering what we have received so far. But I am very pleased to announce that I have been pleasantly surprised by both stages at their quality. We'll start off with what I think is the weakest of all 8 of the map modes here, and we'll just go through them each briefly to talk about what Nintendo's added here. If you look at this map from the overhead, it looks pretty bad. And I think a part of that is that you don't get a sense of the scale of this map by looking at it that way. Because if you look at it that way, it just looks very similar to Mincemeat. You've got this central bridge area where there's a lot of open space, not a lot of cover. The ways around on the sides seem fairly limited, but here's the thing. It's bigger than it looks from the overhead. It's just a larger map in general. Same kind of thing with Shipshape. Shipshape is considerably wider than a lot of other Splatoon 3 maps. And so, because of that, you actually have the ability to go one way while your opponent is looking the other. It's not like you can just put a single crab tank up on this bridge and have it cover absolutely everything. It's definitely dangerous, but there are ways to slip in around it. You maybe distract it on the left a little bit, and then someone can come around the right side and use this wall over here to get down and around and maybe shoot up behind it or something like that before many people can actually see. I really wish that this bottom area were paintable. That would be really nice, not to have to use the block. And it would be really nice to have maybe some of this paintable right here. That's not the end of the world. The biggest thing that I dislike about this mode, that is very much a problem in some other Splatoon 3 maps, is that this area right here is not paintable, and you don't have a paintable wall here, you don't have a paintable wall here, just that entire segment of the map, completely inaccessible to... And, you know, they're doing this because they want it to be inaccessible to the team that's trying to lock out, the team that's on offense, that's, you know, scoring points. But what that also does is it makes it so that if you are on the defending team and you realize, oh, I've gone in too far, I need to back up. If you've gotten this far, well, at least you've got this fish here to keep you company. Like, there's nothing else here that's helping you with that. You can't just back up. The only way to get past that is to use this grate here. That's the only way into the enemy side, only way back into your own side without, you know, super jumping out or something. So I like this area over here. I like, you know, everything you could get into here. I just wish it were accessible in any way other than one of the most vulnerable positions you can put yourself in Splatoon, which is on top of a great bridge. Obviously, you know, there are backline weapons that are more okay with that. Splatling loves grates because they have the range to keep everybody else away from them, except for a charger. And they're able to use the run speed that they're naturally running anyway to get movement that no other weapon is able to access from here. So they kind of like it a little bit more. It would still be very good for both teams to be able to access this back spawn area a lot more easily. And that is why I think this is probably the weakest of the modes, any of the map modes that we've received recently. But that just means it can only go up from here. Tower control is the other one on Crableg where I'd be like, I don't know if we want to run this competitively right now. I need to see more of how it plays. It has a very strange tower path, which might be really cool and might also be really lame. We have to see. But, so first of all, mid is considerably shorter and it doesn't have the full bridge going all the way across, which is fine. I mean, the objective is completely different, so it makes sense to reform the map a little bit around it. But I do want to credit them on this map in general for making these center areas onto the bridge paintable. This would be a much more oppressive map if they weren't. Much more difficult for a short-range weapon ever to contest like a Splatling they got up there. So, this also makes it really good for things like Octobrushes or Tri-Sloshers that like to hit up through that. So first checkpoint is right here in front of this, and you'll notice I just made this jump. This is both a great way for the attacking team to get up into the enemy spawn, and you can't go any further than this. It doesn't give you that many options. Can you make this jump? But not quite. Okay, and I am a lightweight weapon, so I should probably be able to do that better than most weapons. Maybe it's not possible. Anyway, this area right here is a way to access the tower from the defending team, but also access the enemy team to, you know, lock them out from here and protect the first checkpoint if you're the attacking team. One of the cool things about this, though, is that, you know, even if the attacking team gets pushed all the way up in here, it doesn't help them to stay here any longer than it takes for them to get through first checkpoint. Because the tower doesn't go that way. The tower actually goes backward. It goes back to the second checkpoint, which is way over there. So the defending team, if they're getting locked out in spawn, they just come out over these grates or something, or drop down here, and all of a sudden they're in position to defend the second checkpoint. That's really unique. Like, you don't get tower paths that double back on themselves like this very often, and I think it'll create a really a lot of situations that test who on each team actually knows how to play tower control. Tower control, you really need to play along the objective line. You need to play along the tower path. And if the tower path is going in a straight line, then, you know, most people just know, unga munga, hold forward. But if you are playing a tower map that really takes a tour of the whole map, like this one does, you have to rotate in ways that you don't have to in other modes. And I think that's a huge strength of Tower, its ability to take you on a tour of the map, to make parts of the map that were not very widely played before an important part of winning in that mode. I think the biggest weakness of this map mode is that once you clear second checkpoint and get the tower up here, there is not a lot the defenders can do. There are very few weapons who would ever want to be down here shooting up at the tower from below, so that's not a great defensive angle. And then everything else is right in front of me. I feel like as a crab tank or something, I should be able to just kind of lock this out unless they're firing specials at me or something. And we also have the glass here, so if there is someone trying to shoot up at us and it gets to this point, there's not even that much they can do then. So I think that once you get it up to this point, it's probably going to snowball a lot of the time. If you get it that far, it should probably KO. But I think that there are a lot of good defensive opportunities to stop it from getting there. And just knowing that that's your win condition does go a long way in helping the map mode play a little better. So, again, like I said, I think Zones and Tower are the two weakest out of everything we're going to be talking about today. And I'm so excited to talk about the rest of it because it's looking pretty good. Rainmaker here has two possible options for pushing the Rainmaker. I'm not going to grab it here. I'm just going to walk around to them. One of them is up on the grate. This is obviously a little bit more difficult to access. It's going to take a little bit longer because you're going to have to go over the walls or something. But there is one really cool idea that we have with this rail that's right here. This lets us just hop across. You don't even have to touch the grates if you don't want to. You can just land right here and be swimming straight up. So I think that's actually going to be the fastest route to get up to that first checkpoint. But I'm going to test it right now and see, and I'll, time it and let you know. Now, from here, one of the things that I think they did that's really cool is it's not just grates. You don't necessarily have to use the grates. There's also this option right here that lets you just jump across, which makes it so that if you're not running a weapon that, loves its run speed, that you are still going to be able to use that route and still have a fast way to move across. So that part's kind of nice, and it's also, you know, something that's going to let you recharge your ink tank if you need to as you're pushing ahead of it. And it's not like it's broken or anything either, because the defending team can just, you know, shoot it. There's no cover or anything, but, you know, it lets you do this sort of thing and maybe take some high ground, actually, if they haven't decided to lock this down. So really cool that even though it is a great bridge, which is, again, one of the most vulnerable positions you can be in, that they've at least done what they can to make it a little bit less brutal. This, I think, could be an option for a slow, steady push. You can kind of set up and fire a bunch of shots from here. You can play back. If you really need to, you can just drop back down to mid, and this might actually be a good way to rotate over to the other option that we have here, which is to use the pedestal to jump across here. And from here, you can maybe back up here, fire some long-range shots, get your backliner installed here or something. And it's an uphill battle, so this might be more of a breakaway option, but it is definitely pretty quick, because it's a lot faster to get here, to just swim forward to this spot, than it is to go all the way up to the top right and have to go across the grates later. So you might be able to get here quickly and then maybe send some people in and just try to blitz the enemy spawn, get somebody in here. And if need be, you also have the opportunity to rotate this up to the other side and get into the goal this way. So there are a lot of options here to kind of rotate back and forth across the map. There are options to get from the right-hand side, you know, down back into mid, and there are options to go from the left-hand side all the way over to the right, or to just go straight for the goal. And all of those, you know, given how wide this map is and how big this map is, that gives an attacking team multiple options. They can actually play this tactically, instead of needing to just jam everybody through one choke point. You can have the main push be on the right, while one person flanks over on the left, and once they meet you in the middle, now you have a pinch. So, much better designed, I think, than a lot of the other Rainmaker maps are going to be. And Clam Blitz is definitely the, hands down, I think, best of Crableg Capital. Because the one problem that Crableg has had up until this point, the one issue that we've had so far that's worse than any of the others, is that there is no paintable wall or way to get from mid to the enemy plat. Well, look at this. Clam Blitz fixes that problem, not just over here, mind you, but also over here. Now we've got this. And you don't even have to go that high up the wall. You could probably get it from, like, really low on it, I think. Yeah, like, this is... Okay, not quite all the way, but you get the idea here. This is a really easy jump to make, and unlike the one that you have on, say, Mincemeat, it's pretty out of the way, and you immediately have this little, like, ledge here that you can hide behind to kind of sneak your way in and try and get this off angle from. So there are multiple routes you're going to have to cover on defense. You're going to have to cover this hard right idea. And then there's this big old wall in the way between this side that you're trying to defend and this side. And it's kind of hard to see because of the way that this prevents you from seeing it. So, like, unlike Mincemeat where you can stand in one place and just guard everything, these two options are a little bit harder to look at both at the same time. And those aren't the only options either. Because you still, all, you know, have this kind of idea over here. And this is the kind of thing where, like, if you're the silly brush player or roller player who's, you know, only ever trying to set up super jump plays, this sort of thing up here is actually kind of difficult to look at and defend. Like, this is going to draw defenders over to the other side of the map from maybe over there where the rest of your team's trying to come in. So you have multiple routes in that you can't just all cover with one crab tank, which is beautiful. We've needed that for a long time. Now we've got it. So, super duper happy with a couple of these modes here. And I am even more happy with Shipshape. I genuinely think that every single map mode of Shipshape Cargo Company is a mode that could totally be played in tournament, and I would never complain about it. Start with very nicely made spawn area, paintable walls. Not paintable wall, but that's okay. We actually, as the defending team, you probably don't want this wall to be paintable because that makes it easier for an attacking team to try and get up there. As it is, you'd have to kind of make this sort of movement if you were trying to lock the defending team out. So, this area here, great high ground for a backline weapon to try and help on lockout, because this is very easily accessible. And even if, you know, this area down here isn't safe, all you've got to do as that backline weapon, if you want to get there anyway, is pop the rail. And that can let you bypass. If they're too set up on maybe the right-hand side or underneath, that can let you just kind of run past them and force them to turn around and chase you back the other way. Now, on other modes, this part right here is actually accessible, and it's not here, which I'm not a huge fan of. It seems like this keeps happening with the Splat Zones maps in particular, that they just kind of add fewer options. But the right side is a lot more promising. So the right side, you've got this cool pit area here. I love this pit area. I like that this exists. It's out of sight. There's a whole bunch of weird little sight lines that short-range weapons are going to be able to use. This whole thing is paintable. Look at this. They're spoiling us now. Paintable walls, guys. And I love this little sneaky area. This sneaky area is something we just don't have in any of the other Splatoon 3 maps. This is so out of sight. Like, if you are even this far back, it is invisible to you what is going on anywhere on this left-hand side. Very, very sneaky route. You just pop up here, delete someone, and they're gone from that side of mid. And, you know, you have access to mid from here. If you have someone who's trying to defend from back there, you can just kind of pop over here and target them that way. This is a nasty, you know, crab tank or backline position, because this can see so much over here. But, again, can't reach all the way over to the left. It can't reach that sneaky area up there. This is awesome. The zone also is such a cool area. So it's not a straight-up rectangle. It has a little bit of a curve to it. And around that curve, you've got these walls that you can use for cover, but you can also see through. So it doesn't feel cramped, even though you have a lot of cover to work with in here. And you can kind of maybe like try and poke your way up through here. Look at this. This wall's paintable too. This wall's paintable too. And you can get up this way. You have so many ways to get through mid. You can get through in mid itself. You can get up this way and, you know, cross over the top. You can go this way and then meet up with the far right route, which gets you maybe like down here or shooting down around this area. This is good. This is really good. One of the better zones maps, I would say, that are in the game right now. Tower control is probably one of the strongest modes for this map. It's a relatively simple tower path. It's just kind of an S-curve. But like I talked about in the Crableg part, this gives you a tour of the map. Every part of the map is relevant at some point on this tower path. This whole side down here is important to hold down if you're trying to get the first checkpoint. Once you clear the first checkpoint, now this middle of the map is really important. And once you get to the second checkpoint, now this high ground right here becomes important. Then once you get over here, the left side becomes important again. And you can also still use the right side high ground to defend it. The whole map is getting used. The whole map is valuable here. And it gives you a lot of options for different strategies to try and hold it down. Do you want to just overload the right-hand side and try and overwhelm it from here? Do you want to decide that the first checkpoint is doomed and that you're going to need to defend in mid or on the left-hand side? Then you can rotate over to that side instead. And again, this is also going to test people's ability to really understand how tower control works, because if you play on the wrong end of the tower path, you're going to be in an irrelevant position and out of play. So it's testing you tactically as well. From tower, you can jump across here and try and take control of this area. There's really nothing that's totally inaccessible to the attacking team, but it's also, you know, gonna have to push through a checkpoint when you're on some kind of high ground. And the defenders are gonna have some sort of advantage over you while you're trying it. I think Rainmaker's probably the weakest mode for this map. And that's not saying, you know, too much about it, because again, we've still got a bunch of paintable walls. We've still got these great ways of getting into mid. Like, look at this piece of cover. You can climb up over the top of this. This is great. This too. You know, you've still got this. One really cool thing is that on the Rainmaker version of this, you can actually hop up onto the left side here. So, for example, knowing that a lot of short-range weapons are going to like to push over here, if you have like a Splatling or something and you want to like get charge over here and then step out this way and surprise people, you can pull that off. So like, mid is if anything better. The thing that I'm less of a fan of here is that I think there is more of a correct option for where to take the Rainmaker here. The middle route is very, very fast and doesn't have a lot in the way. The left side is significantly slower and forces you to go over this bridge. Now this bridge isn't terrible because you can kind of like fire down with the Rainmaker and try and flush these areas out. And you also, you know, if you end up getting forced off, you do have this really cool option right here to get you back up. This is a really cool piece of level geometry that we haven't seen before that makes really good use of Squid Roll, that gives you a little bit of cover as you're pushing in. It also has a sponge. Look at the sponge! So yes, this wall back here is unpaintable. Gross. But there is a way for the defending team to back up if they need to, which is something that a lot of maps in Splatoon 3 could definitely make use of. So, that's wonderful. But I just don't see, as the attacking team, that much of a reason to want to push left. It seems like it's taking you longer to rotate left than it is for a defender to rotate into the position to help them defend that side. So I feel like you're most of the time going to want to go front and center. Once that checkpoint's done, though, you do have a couple of options. You can't go this way. There's no way to, like, jump it that will get you high enough. But you can either try to run it through the trench here, where while you're, you know, stuck in that trench and you can only go in one direction, there's only so many angles that someone's going to have to hit you from here. If somebody's, you know, up here trying to defend, once you go down here, they have to, like, really peek over the side to be able to get anything done that way. You also have the option to rotate it to the left across this jump. Maybe sneak it around here. This jump is makeable, and this way you could rotate it to a different area of the map. I don't believe any of those jumps are makeable, which is good. You probably don't want the attacking team to be able to get that close to the enemy team's spawn. But then from here, you know, as the attacking team, you do have high ground on your way down to the goal. So it's nice where, even though this might be like the best option most of the time for getting first checkpoint, after you get it, you might want to rotate it someplace else on the map to get more of an advantage as you push the remaining way. Or you might have more of an incentive to just try and sprint it the rest of the way because you're so dang close to the goal here. Like this center route, like look at how close we are to mid. Look at how close we are. I'm just seeing how long it takes us to swim there. It took me 5 seconds to swim from here to the goal once this was all painted. Like, this is insanely fast. It takes no time at all. You have to be really careful not to be wiping when the Rainmaker is anywhere near your side because that KO is going to happen really quickly. But it's also, you know, you're kind of going through the Death Star trench on your way through here. It might be hard for the attacking team to be able to get through that safely. Especially with all of the different angles that the defending team is going to have to try and shoot at you as you go. They're going to probably be posting up somebody on this area who can shoot down at you and, you know, paint the way. All you need is like a backline weapon that's right here, and this is pretty difficult to access. You've got all of these little nooks and crannies that someone can poke out from and hit you from. You might have someone who's trying to hit you before you get there. And one thing that I do also want to give the Rainmaker version of the map is that this area down here is a Rainmaker free zone. This would be a disgusting stall position if they let this be accessible. If they let you just, like, run the Rainmaker back here and hold it from right here with your team defending you. This would not be very fun. And so, while it is a little bit restrictive in what you can use of the map, I think it's definitely for the best that that part is only accessible to, like, the defending team or attacking flankers. And finally, there's Clam Blitz. Clam Blitz puts its basket pretty far back. Like, this is really close to the enemy spawn, so I could see this being a much more difficult map to score on. as soon as you splat someone and send them back to spawn, they're just right back on top of you. And like this area up here is basically invisible. It's very difficult to even see who's defending from up there. And if, you know, that's still super well covered, if maybe you've got some really good Trizuka shots or Tri-Strike shots, there's even that really far back angle up there that I can just barely hit with a burst bomb. Like, there's a lot of defensive high ground right there. But even if all of that is covered, then the defending team still has this that they can work with. So I have a feeling it's going to be harder to score. But one thing they did to make it a little bit easier is that you've got this jump right here that lets you get up much more easily than on most other modes. The other approach you have is this way, which does give you a little bit of cover. You know, if the rest of the enemy team is looking out in this direction, trying to defend, and then all of a sudden they have to turn to, like, catch a brush who's streaking across that bridge, they can hit you between here and here, and otherwise the brush can just very safely, like, get in range to throw this power clam before anyone's going to be able to shoot them. And on top of that, you know, if there's a backline weapon who's back there, brush is still going to be able to use this to get close to this edge before they put the brush down and run across. So this is going to be a little bit sneakier, I think, than, you know, it looks at first, being a great bridge. Lots of different options. Again, you have different ways of approaching the basket. You can make a power clam in from down here, but you can also make it in from all the way over to the left. So the defending team has to kind of watch both. If you really want, if you want to be extremely sneaky and you somehow manage to pull it off, you can get a jump in from here. And I don't think you can make it from here, but you can definitely make it off of a jump throw. I'm glad that whatever it was that changed Nintendo's minds about their philosophy for the stage design up until this point, I'm really glad that it happened, because these maps are definitely hands down the best that we've been given fresh and new in Splatoon 3. Definitely not perfect. You know, I've mentioned some problems that I have with some of the modes in Crableg. I do think that Shipshape is a little bit of an hourglass. It's got a little bit of the Wahoo problem, where mid isn't the easiest thing to traverse. There are only, you know, so many ways you can get through. As long as you're, you know, firing at this area and you've got someone watching up here, there's not that much of a way through, but it's not the end of the world to have a little bit of a choke point here and there. And it's definitely not as pronounced an issue as it is on Wahoo. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out in competitive settings, but looking at it right now, just first impressions, these are beautiful, and I'm happy we have them. And you can see like a little bit of parallax out in the background with the icebergs floating around. This is cool. I like this. And don't even get me started on how beautiful it looks up on Crableg Capital. Holy moly. Come on. Look at this view. Got the hang glider up there. Got the whole city down below. That right there is Hagglefish Market. Super duper nice. Thank you, Nintendo. It took long enough. Well, like I said, we've got some good maps now, and I'm really looking forward to learning them. We'll have the call-outs out for those shortly. I want to see a little bit more about how the maps play to know, you know, which areas are most important to label, which areas are really most deserving of being called something like snipe, you know, the places where the charger is most likely to play from, but also high ground overlooking low ground kind of thing. So we'll give it maybe a week or something before we get the, you know, standardized callouts, just so that I have a good understanding of what to be naming everything, but those will be out shortly as well. Thanks for watching, everybody, and enjoy Drizzle season.